So Jeanette, we've talked about embracing fear. What I'd really like to ask you is how you felt when we originally asked you to do this particular part, and where you are now, and what steps perhaps you've gone through to get there.
Okay, well, take it one bit at a time. When you initially asked me, there's not much of this part of me left, but there was still a hint of the taking in the breath and going, oh, is this something I can do? And then the part of me that now can laugh about how well this actually fits together, and the part of me that's enjoying that now, which helps overcome the fear of being exposed or whatever it is that comes, being part of this, of media in this way, is the curious experience that was part of my life a number of years ago when I was actually with someone who was very preoccupied with filming, and how I had to really try to cope with being on camera a lot more than I really wanted to be. But in the effort to actually do something constructive within that relationship, I decided one day, well, okay, I'll give it a go. And the giving it a go meant walking in the street in Windsor with a radio mic and improvising whatever it was, because I didn't have a script. And I found, to my surprise, was that I could actually do it. And so this is part of the feel the fear and do it anyway thing, is that if we have a strong enough motivation to do something, you have to want to do something. Even though I know in a lot of Eastern philosophies they're saying we shouldn't desire, that we shouldn't have desire, that we have to let go our connection to wanting things. But I really do feel that unless we really want to do something, then how can we actually get over the fear of actually doing it? And I know I've used actually about 4 times there, but it doesn't matter. And so when you asked me again, it was a reminder that every single step along the way is important on the journey of life. That, so often we can say, oh, I would have been happier if this hadn't have happened, or it would have been better if that hadn't happened. But in times like this, I'm reminded once again that everything happens for a reason, and something that was quite distressing at the time, even disturbing and annoying and all of those things, suddenly I realise it's given me an experience which now allows me to do something like this without actually worrying about, is it going to be good enough, or how will it turn out, that I can actually sit here and go, it will be however it is, and that will actually be fine. So I'm really grateful that you asked me, because it's already helped me identify how it fits in, like in my big picture.
One of the things I wanted to ask, from an association perspective for our members, a couple of times you've said you had a motivation to come here, so there was that motivational drive to step into the fear. What would be one of the motivations, or some of the motivations you would think that for people that are listening at the moment that might be still fearful of embracing the new technologies, that perhaps you could share with them that got you to where you are now?
Embracing the new technologies. Well, I guess one of the biggest things is that everything that does happen now via technology does very rapidly pass into the public domain. And there's been a huge distortion around that. And of course with everything there's good things and bad things. And so we need to be able to filter and I guess hold the integrity of the level of honesty that we're really putting out there, with the realisation that possibly somewhere along the line someone will try to distort that, because anything can be clipped to make it look a certain way. You know, it can be put in the wrong context.
Yeah.
So we're here with the sense of trust that whatever message we're putting out, I'm doing, you know, to the highest level of integrity and well-meaning that I can put out there. But how it's received, no one can guarantee, because we can only be responsible for our end of the story, which again is something that happens in everything, is we can only look after what we're sending, or our part in the story, and what people do with it after that is really up to them. So I feel it's the level of exposure with the thought that, you know, this message could go to the whole world and go, wow, and does that matter or not? So I guess it's a measure of how comfortable we feel of being in the world, of how strong a message that we feel okay to put out there, because it's really, we're being challenged to put your money where your mouth is. You know,
I'm getting
you
a
see is what you
yeah.
get.
So getting a sense, I suppose, motivation being it's a forum to allow your integrity and your message to get out to the wider public, but it's also, I suppose, in some respects, you're sort of saying that the motivation also is for allowing people to ensure that there's that information's out there, that it's not distorted, that there is a positive message. Is that what you're still saying? There is a positive message.
I'm doing my best to convey a positive message.
Yeah, so therefore there's not just the dark, there is the light as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just depends on how it's received. And I remember actually a healer called Rosemary Altea, you know, talking about this as being one of the big things that she had to deal with, was to realise that, for one, if you're doing something for no money, that already can cause people to throw up like a doubt or a question. Well, how can you be willing to do this for no money? What is your belief system, you know, that allows you to feel secure enough, I suppose, to say, well, I'll just do it, it feels right. And the questions that arose, I think, particularly for people in this profession, around integrity, that you really are prepared to be up front, or be out the front, and if someone thinks whatever you're saying is a load of rubbish, and I freely give people permission to say that. I say, this is what feels true for me, but I accept that to you it might not resonate at all. So I give you full permission to think whatever you like about me, but I've actually got the strength through the experiences that I've had along the way to know in my own heart of hearts that this is true for me, and you're welcome to do, you know, what you will with it. But that's not something that happens overnight.
But if we could say, like, for our members, 3 takeaways for someone that's sitting here listening to you today and perhaps wanting to get a message out, perhaps have felt uncomfortable to embrace what is already available, but feels that they want to contribute in some way in getting the right messages out there, what would be the 3 takeaways that you could give to them that could help them on their journey?
Okay. I tell them to give themselves permission to do what feels right for them at the moment.
Yeah.
To trust that when the next moment arises with the next step, that they will know when it's right for them to take that next step.
Yeah.
And to whatever level, the third thing, whatever level of technology is correct for them, then it will actually be presented, and it won't be a tough decision to make. The energy will simply be there, and they will know that, oh, today is the day that I can do whatever it is that I've got to do next.
Beautiful. And to embrace the fear. So that book that you said, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes.
I always saw that the embracing the fear, in actual fact, is just a little indication of growing pains. That you're just growing.
Is.
You're just
Yes.
getting larger.
Yes. And when the doubt comes, just to simply acknowledge the doubt or the fear, and see if you can identify what the fear actually is, because fear usually involves, we're afraid that we'll lose something. So if you can sit with it and ask yourself that question, what am I afraid I might lose if I do X, Y, and Z? See if you can come up with an answer.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. Thank you, Jeanette.